And then there's a gap between do and have. And so our potential is that gap that we separate, but we have to know what that potential is and then work towards it. So, for most people that I sit down with, I'm like, who do you want to be? And they're like, what do you mean, who do you want to be? Well, what are you trying to be? Because if you were already that person, you would already be doing the thing.
Welcome to the Expert in You podcast, the show for professional entrepreneurs, experts, authors, speakers, coaches, and consultants who are ready to elevate their business, expand their influence, and boost their bank accounts. Join us as we dive deep with industry-leading experts who share their top strategies, invaluable insights, practical tips, and personal experiences to help you achieve extraordinary growth and success. Whether you're looking to sharpen your skills, stay ahead of the curve, or find that competitive edge, this podcast is your ultimate resource for unlocking your full potential. So tune in, get inspired, grab your coffee, and let's unlock the expert in you. Today, my guest is Dr. Brian Arnold. Brian, welcome to my show.
Hey, well, thank you for having me on. I'm excited about doing it today. This is a really cool show. I can't wait to spend some time with you.
Thank you. Yes, I'm excited to have you on. And we had a few technical difficulties getting here, but hey, we are here, Brian. We're here.
Love it.
Dr. B is in the house. That's what he said. I said, what do you want me to call you? He said, Dr. B. Yeah. So Dr. B is in the house today, and he has a new book coming out. So we're going to talk about that, but we're really going to talk about the content of the book. And I love this because one of Dr. B's ideas is that you should become before you do. So let's just dive right into that. Tell everybody, first of all, how you kind of got to where you are right now doing what you're doing. Just give us a quick overview of that story.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on today. I can't wait to kind of talk about some of the new stuff and the things that I've been doing. It's so fun when you get to help people in their purpose. And so yes. When I do my podcast, Living Boldly with Purpose, we kind of talk about what does it mean to be in purpose? What does it mean to be able to get to a place in your life where you get to serve others in a way that God would have you do it. And so, my whole thing whether I'm coaching, whether I'm talking to people, is how do I help people become the person they need to be in order to do what God put them on this planet to do. And so, my first book was called There Is No Tiger, and we talk about overthinking and controlling anxiety and, all these things that we roll in our mind, that movie that we play of all the things that are never going to happen, and it stops us dead in our tracks. And so when we can get to the point where we're helping people move forward, helping people get unstuck, helping people say, wait a minute, I can actually do this. I don't have to wait. And so the new book is going to be called Be, Do, Have. It's simply those three words, be, do, have. And when we think about becoming the person that we need to be, how do we do that? Because we do so many things backwards. We say, okay, I want to have, do, be. Just a quick story. When I was started being a professor, and I was working at the high school at the same time, and I got these double jobs, and I decided, hey, I'm going to go to the BMW dealership, and I'm going to buy myself a brand new car because I deserve it, right? I got this. I'm this person. Well, I wasn't that person who deserved a BMW. I was the one who showed up there. So I thought I was going to go get me like a 5 Series or a 3 Series or something like that, and I walk out of there with a 750 that was a little bit older, but it was like, that's their flagship. And so I drive around the parking lot at the university with my windows down and acting like I'm the coolest person and waving. And this was back in the 90s. And so, that's when we had like cell phones in the car, and it was like $1 a minute for a cell phone.
I remember those days.
Oh my God. But so I wasn't calling anybody, but I'd hold the phone to my ear, and I'd take 20 minutes to park. Although there was parking spots all over the place, just so I could feel like I had the thing that made me look like I was the person who did what I was supposed to do. And now I had to figure out, how am I going to go pay for this BMW? How am I going to make sure? At the time, I think we had 3 kids, and we're trying to figure out how to make life work. And my wife's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I look cool, and then I ran down the street fast.
Until they take your car away.
Yeah, no, I was working on my doctorate. I was in LA at the time, and I was going down to like San Diego State. And I would actually, like, on the way back, because the classes would end at 11 o'clock at night, and it was like an hour and a half drive. I didn't have money for a hotel or anything. I would sleep in the back of the car, say, okay, yeah, this is the guy who deserves and has done it. And now I've started to realize, how do we become and work on our personal development and work on ourselves, and how much time should we do that? And, when we have intention, make sure, there's going to be disruption. There's going to be things that are going to come your way. But how do we start doing the things, when I say do, it's like there's a gap between be and do. And then there's a gap between do and have. And so we have to, our potential is that gap that we separate, but we have to know what that potential is and then work towards it. So, for most people that I sit down with, I'm like, who do you want to be? And they're like, what do you mean, who do you want to be? Well, what are you trying to be? Because if you were already that person, you would already be doing the thing. And so if you have this big dream of what you want to do, you would already be doing it, because if you become that person, you can't help but do it, which is so cool. You really, truly can't help but do it.
I love this. I talk about this as well. Who do you get to be when you decide what your next thing is, or the level that you're going to step into? But something else that really resonated with me is you were really talking about your purpose and even being aligned with God and his intentions for you. And I have always, all of my businesses, all of them were really God-led and God inspired, and he always guided my path and my steps. And that's been such and got me through the storms and all of the things that go on in business. And I think that's such a powerful piece of what my businesses have always been. And I always wonder how people do it without God and without being aligned. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and one of the things that when I think of, our Creator and what he's given us and what he's put inside of us, sometimes we get in such a lack mentality, like there's not abundance. And then, I serve a God who's a God of abundance, but somehow people believe that if I get to have, I have to take from you, or there's not enough resources to go around.
Right,
but
which is not true.
Yes, so not true. And because he's given us all our special gifts, we can utilize our gifts in abundance and then work in combination with other folks. And so, I might be a great speaker, but you might be a great writer, and you can write my speeches or whatever it is that I'm doing, and God allows us to do that. And so when we get into this, when I think about I think about getting into the learning mode where we're trying to learn. God has made us creatures that love to learn. When you see somebody who has learned something and they're in this mode where they're understanding it and they're getting it and the light bulb comes in, they get so happy and excited, and then they want to create. Because I believe God created us to create, right?
It is a natural progression.
It is. And so that's the B stage, is we got to learn, then we can go into create. And then when we become to the do stage, that's where our love and connection and relationships, I really think, happen. And because everything revolves around relationships. And the better relationships we have, the better our lives are. And so when I think about, whether it's a relationship with your spouse, and what am I doing on a daily basis to make sure my family's taken care of? I have 8 children and 16 grandkids.
I have 16 grandchildren. I was blown away. I have 4 grandkids.
Oh my gosh, they just keep having them, and not all my kids have kids yet. And so I have 16 grandkids, and one of my goals in life is just to make sure that I get to spend time with them. I think sometimes we get away from the nuclear family sometimes, and the family unit and the things. I've been really working with folks of color and, Black men lately. I have a whole program called Journey to Freedom that I work with. And so there's so many things that the family unit has seemed to just been dissolved a little bit. And feeding into, when I think about our culture and great grandma or big mama who was always in the house and saying, you're wonderful, you're awesome, you're spectacular. Sometimes our families have lost that so much, and that love and connection is just so important. And so how do we make sure that we're tight on our relationships, and our associations and the people we hang around with, and we go with a thought of service instead of a thought of what is in it for me. Because, when we even think about the money that we make, and I mean, at the beginning of the show, I loved your intro when you talked about you want to make $1 million, right? Well, all the income that we have, right now came from a relationship somewhere, came from us serving.
Right. Somebody, yes, you got that somewhere.
Right?
Yes.
You have to, even if you have a job, you're serving somebody in order for
Yes.
them to pay you. And we think, oh, about me, next me, and then sometimes we start making our first paycheck or we make our first thing, and then we go, how am I going to make more? What do I do to make more? Instead of remembering what we did to serve the person in order to make it in the first place. And so that
Yes.
service, and then once you start having, then you get to contribute, right? Then the contribution comes in, and you get to matter and your legacy and that kind of stuff. And so, like I said, sometimes we just do it so backwards. We try to have, or do.
Mhm.
We get stuck in this, oh my gosh, this cycle of doing. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. Then you start saying, well, I'm not really good at doing it, so I'm going to try. You don't get to try to do anything, either do it or not.
Right.
But the issue is if you haven't become the person who can do it, then you're going to have to try because you're not equipped to do that. You haven't, I guess, you say sometimes gone through the schools or the school of hard knocks or whatever it is in that becoming phase that's so important. And then we kind of separate our entertainment from our education so much. So many people use, I think, entertainment as a distraction. Whether it's scrolling through your videos or watching TV at night
Yes.
or all those, oh my gosh, those things that we do. And I love entertainment. I love going to concerts. I love seeing the best of what God has given the talent to people to do. I love movies. I love, I love everything about going to be entertained. But sometimes I think we spend it instead of our lives and growing our lives. Like I have buddies that will tell me everything about like NFL football players, like Patrick Mahomes or Jason Hurd or the young guys that they can tell me all the stats, and I'll ask them about their kids, and they kind of look up and go, I'm like, you know more about a player that you will never
Wow.
meet
Mhm.
than you know about your own children. How much time did you spend working on your relationship with your wife? How often did you tell her that you loved her? How often, what are those things? Are you writing her notes? Are you at the barbershop talking about, I live in Denver, so the latest Nugget game or who's in the championships or who's the playoffs? And like I said, entertainment is great, but those guys are living their dreams, right?
Yes.
When are we
Yeah.
going to spend the time living our dreams and working on us? And so there has to be that, okay, I will spend a portion of my time being entertained, but not distracted. How can I work on me?
I love that. It's so true that we are in a society where it's easy to be complacent and not really do things that move your life forward or make a difference in your life. And I always say, why would you? I'm with you. Entertainment's fine to a degree, right? But to sit there and care more about what other people are doing instead of working to do it for yourself just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'm like, you get one life, right? This is your life until you go to heaven. This is what you've been given. So are you wasting it or are you using it in a way that's going to impact?
Absolutely. And so many people tell me, I wish I could have this, or I want to get this, or I'm working towards this goal of, being financially independent. And then I'll say, okay, show me your calendar. Show me
What you've done. Yes.
what you're actually doing.
It's not aligned, is it?
Oh my gosh, it's so far off.
I'm putting together a webinar that I'm going to be doing. And one of the things that I'm bringing up is, everybody says, oh, I'd love to make $1 million leap. And very few will ever put in the effort to actually make it happen. They'll show up for every free thing. They'll show up for every free thing, like that's going to make a difference, right? Like that's actually nothing wrong with learning, but it's not going to help you if you don't implement, if things don't actually happen or you don't actually take the steps to make that happen. And I see that so much in the entrepreneur space. And I know you do too. If you were out there working with entrepreneurs or working with people.
You're so right. And I talk to folks that are saying this, and I ask them, were you ever in band in high school? Were you ever in, a sport in high school? Did you ever work so hard over a period of year, like, in theater or something, where you spent weeks and weeks and weeks in order to have one line in a play or to, practice all year long to play 1 hour in a game or in several games or, practice your instrument every single day. And you were willing to do that right? You
Mm-hmm.
were willing to do that in high school and spend 3 or 4 years, so maybe you could get a scholarship or something. And then I say, so what are you doing to work on you right now in
Right.
order so that you can have what you're talking about, your dream?
Right.
And then you come back and you tell me about what's happening on the latest show that's on TV. And they got 10 episodes and you binge watched it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's the last book you read? What's the
Mm-hmm.
last, have you been coached? I mean, I've been a track coach for 38 years now, and I've coached
Mm-hmm.
Olympians, I've coached high school champions, I've coached all kind of really incredible athletes, but not one of them would say they could do that without somebody who's watching them, who's coaching them, who's moving them forward, who is looking at what they're doing and giving them feedback. And yet these folks will go, well, I'll just watch YouTube. I'll watch a million hour, and there's nothing wrong with YouTube. I get a lot out of YouTube. In fact, I'm
Of
on YouTube.
course.
You're on YouTube,
But
but
but you still have to implement, or you still have to, I still, even if I see something on YouTube that I'm like, okay, that's what I need to do next, or what I want to do next, I still have to go find the person that can help me do it, because I'm like, I have a short runway. I'm getting old.
ooh, I
And
know
I
what
have a
you mean.
short runway to get to my goals, or to accomplish the things. I don't believe, I'm not 20 anymore. I don't believe in like taking forever to accomplish things. And we don't have to do that in the world today.
Oh
So
no, and YouTube doesn't see your blind spots,
no,
right?
no, not at all. Or the nuances and the details for execution. This is the other thing. I'm like, I work with a lot of business coaches, and they know that they're business coaches. They know the concept of what they should be doing. They have the picture of what they should be doing and the vision, and they even might have the roadmap. It doesn't mean they're executing in a way that it's working or getting them to the results that they want, because they can't see the nuances, the details. They're too close to it, right? They can't see the blind spots that you're talking about. And it's such a mistake people make, which is why you and I exist, right? To help
Yeah,
people.
to help people get there. And then sometimes they forget the service side of it, and they'll watch somebody and they'll try to duplicate and copy what that
Mm-hmm.
person's doing, not realizing they don't have all the experience of that person. They don't have
Oh,
all
right.
the failures and all the things that
That's
that
right.
person tried. If they
Mm-hmm.
could just talk to that person, spend a few hours with that person, or somebody like them, they can go, wait a minute, if you could just tweak this one little thing or this one thing. Oh, I see what you're doing.
Yes.
You made this intro, and you really you didn't even think about what the other person wants. You're trying to give them what you want, what you think you want. You don't have they don't want that. They want
Yes.
their lives to change, not to help you change your life. And so just so many little things that if you can be, like I said, go back to that, becoming that person,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't do that by yourself. And that's why we need
Right.
communities. God didn't create us to be by ourselves and to figure out
Mm-hmm.
our own. He created us to
Right.
be in a relationship, and He created us to serve. And so it's so fun to be able to not only talk about it, to be able to help people get there.
Isn't this the best life ever, to get to help people and do it for a living?
It is. And wow,
Doesn't get better, in my
no,
opinion.
it doesn't get better, because you truly, and there's so many times where I was on a mission trip, or I was doing, something. I'm like, yes, I'm serving God and I'm doing some fun things. And those were all great. But sometimes I left there and said, well, what difference can I make if I can't help fund it, if I can't help put some more money into
Right.
it? Because you see some of the things that money could fix like this.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
Money
always
fixes a
people.
lot of problems. Let's just face it.
It does. It's just a tool that God has given
Exactly.
us to be able to make a difference in the world. And sometimes we just, oh, I've just got to do more service to get to more service. And sometimes we spend so much time doing more, more, more. But if
Mm-hmm.
we put our efforts in the right spot, it makes more and more impact. And
So true.
that's where I kind of found out, if I don't mind doing more. I don't mind working hard. I don't mind doing the work.
But don't just be busy.
Yeah, I just don't want to be
Don't.
busy.
Yes.
I want to make impact. I want to make impact.
Yes. I love that. What if you think back to when you were younger, or where you first really grabbed onto personal development? Can you think of maybe one of the first people that you listened to or learned from that really impacted what you're doing today?
Yeah, I can remember there was, back in my Amway days, back in the 80s and stuff, there were people
Don't
like,
say Jim Rohn because he's one of my all-time favorites.
oh gosh, Jim Rohn,
He was
actually.
probably one of my first
Oh,
real personal development people that I listened
oh,
to.
as he was mine. That's all
Mhm.
they're gonna pay you, or they're not
Yes.
what they pay you. So then, and I went to some Tony Robbins stuff. I
Mhm.
was fortunate. I worked with a financial service company in the 2000s, and so
Mm.
I don't know if people who are watching here might know Ed Milet. So I was in an office with Ed Milet for 8 years. Me
Oh,
and him.
wow.
Yeah, I
That's amazing.
tore my Achilles on his
Mhm.
basketball court there, and then I was another 3 years with Patrick McDavid. So
Okay.
so him and I were together. So those are guys that I saw grow and move into where they're at now, and are still really good friends. And so there's just been so many people that I continue. John Maxwell is one of those. I had an amazing pastor that I had who grew a church, and he's when we were part of it, where there's probably 200 members. By the time we left, there was 10,000, and he talked about leadership, and we had special leadership classes that I was able to follow him and got to teach some of them and do that kind of
Who
stuff.
was the pastor?
His name was Diego Mesa, and it was in Southern
Okay, not
California.
haven't heard him. So
Yeah,
okay.
so but just an amazing, that
Yeah.
to be able to spend time with him and
Yeah.
grow. And he was a big mentor of mine. We met every Thursday for
Hmm.
coffee, and as the church grew, and the things that he was able to teach me, like one of the biggest things is hurting people hurt people. I would say that
Yes.
was the biggest
It's a big
lesson I
one.
ever learned, because now if I see somebody who's lashing out, somebody who is upset, somebody who is saying mean things, I think to myself, hurting people
They're
hurt.
hurt. Hmm.
And so if I can find out why they're hurting, I don't
Hmm.
have to worry about the behavior that I'm seeing, because that's a symptom of
Right.
something deeper that's going on. And I've been
Yeah.
looking at people, that's probably 30 years ago, that I've been looking at people different ever since. And I
Yeah,
don't
you
really,
just show up with a very different attitude and just this empathy when you really understand that. And I think it's super powerful. We didn't plan on that coming out, but I think that's so powerful. We really hit on a lot of gold nuggets here today in a very short amount of time, I think. Hopefully, some great takeaways for everyone. Um, I value your time. I wish we had longer to talk, but this has been so amazing. I know that people got some great things out of this. And just a real quick story. I interviewed someone on my podcast who worked alongside Jim Rohn for years and years and years. He was like, they rode in the car together and they did all of
oh
this.
my
And
gosh.
yeah, yeah. And so it was really fun to hear from him. And he is actually still part of Amway. He's one of the top leaders in Amway. And it was just really interesting to interview him and get to know him. And he's been to a couple of my workshop and things like that. So a lot of fun. So Jim Rohn's one of my favorites. I just absolutely loved him. And
Yeah, him and Zig Ziglar, and then,
yeah, yes. I even quoted both of them in my first book, my very
oh, did
first
you?
book.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that I did 15, I think about 15 years ago,
Mhm.
around small business. And I have some Jim Rohn quotes in there and I have some Zig Ziglar quotes in there. And they really were such an inspiration for me. Along with same thing, pastors, mentors. There have been a lot of people along the journey, but I think Jim Rohn was probably one of my first, what I would say, real personal development people that I, paid attention to and really built off of. So,
Yeah, I
anyways,
think Stephen
it's a
Covey was
fun
another
story.
one that I learned a lot from.
Who?
Stephen Covey and the
Yes,
Seven
yes,
Habits of Highly Effective People.
yes, yeah, and I even love Speed of Trust. Have you
Yeah,
read that? That's a
yes,
great
I
book
have. Oh
too.
gosh,
Yes, I
yeah,
love that. We're in a trust world today, right? In a market, I should say,
yeah.
and now trust is everything. So
Yeah, and just because there's a guy named David Horsager who he does a whole seminar, everything on called the Trusted Edge. And so I went to one of his seminars about a year and a half ago, and he's done all this research on how to start with trust and how to lead with trust and how trust is
mm.
everything. And my whole Journey to Freedom program came out of it. And then today I actually get to interview him on my podcast.
Oh, that's super
So I'm
cool.
so excited. 400 or 500 people
Yeah.
in the room, and
Give your
just
podcast a shout out. What is it again?
it's called The Journey to Freedom, and the one that
Okay.
I'm doing with him is called Living Boldly with Purpose. So that's kind of the overarching Living Boldly, and then the Journey to Freedom came out of it. that was exclusively for Black men, but I'm interviewing him on Living Boldly with Purpose. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. And then my other hero right now is Myron Golden.
I love Myron. I love him.
Myron is on my podcast 2 weeks ago.
Oh my goodness. I absolutely love him. He's one of the few that I follow really online. And
I went down to Florida and spent some time with them. And so I can't wait to get to support. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at, but personal development is so big. So.
Yeah. One of the things I love about Myron Golden is also just his faith and how he brings all of that into entrepreneurship is just super powerful. And he's a smart guy. Oh my goodness. He is so smart.
Yes, he is. He is super. And his ability to communicate the concepts.
Oh, amazing. He's such a brilliant communicator. Yes. Yeah. And he's funny. He's entertaining too. So yeah, who doesn't love that? Really solid stuff and entertaining as well. So anyways, all right. Dr. B, this has been so much fun. What would you like to drive people to today? Is your book's not out yet? Are you pre-selling it? Or
yeah, we'll start pre-selling it. I still have the book that There Is No Tiger. If you go to brianearnold.com, all my stuff is at that site. Everything I do, whether I'm coaching, I'm also coaching people on how to do podcasting and helping people get their podcast started. And so I call myself the podcast coach and how to, for folks that want to get leads and that kind of stuff. But yeah, if you go to my site, a couple books that are there, and the other one will be coming out. Be Do Have will be pre-sold here very, very soon. And so Myron's looking at it right now to make sure I'm okay with it before I send it out. So that's kind of my last person I'm waiting on before it gets published. So it's just so many neat things to be able to do. Love if you send me comments or do anything, I'll make sure that I DM you back and that kind of stuff. Anything I can do to help you grow to be the person that you need to be. My prayer every day is, dear Lord, give me the wisdom to do the things you put me on this earth to do in a way that pleases you and serves others. And if I can do that every single day, that's Solomon's prayer. So it ain't mine. I didn't steal it, but if I could do that every day I get up, then the day is going to be an amazing day.
So good. So good. Well, thank you so much for being here. This has been so much fun. Such a pleasure to have you on. And yes, we went way longer than I originally told you we were going to go. But, if the conversation's good, you don't want to just cut it off. So thanks, Dr. B.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate being on your show. Go listen to more of these shows. She's so awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Expert in You Showcase. If today's conversation sparked something in you, a new idea, a bigger vision, or a sense that you're meant for more, that's no accident. I work with experts and entrepreneurs who are ready to package their brilliance, raise their value, and create a business that gives them both impact and freedom. If you're ready to explore what your next big leap could look like, let's connect. God bless you all. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.
The content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Although I share strategies, ideas, and success stories based on real experiences, results are never guaranteed. Every business is unique, and outcomes depend on individual effort, market conditions, and many other factors. By listening, you agree that I and my guests are not responsible for your results or actions based on the content shared.
Thank you for tuning in today. If you're as excited as I am about scaling up your influence, business, and bank account, then I have just the thing for you. But first, make sure you subscribe to the show. Second, make sure you share it with someone you care about, because sharing is caring. And third, head on over to join me in my next free virtual exclusive workshop, where we'll explore proven strategies to boost your business and maximize your potential. Look, it doesn't matter if you're just starting out or if you're looking to take your business to the next level, my workshops are designed for you. So head on over to expertinyouworkshop.com to reserve your spot and get ready to transform your expertise into extraordinary success. I'm looking forward to seeing you there and helping you achieve incredible growth. Until next time, make sure you're always seeking the expert in you, and God bless. Have an amazing day.